Welcome to the Pelvic Power Podcast. My name is Penny, and I am the host of this lovely space. I am a pelvic floor yoga teacher who teaches people with pelvic pain how to use movement, breathwork, and body awareness to ease and manage their pain while living a pleasurable life. In this space, we'll be talking about all things taboo because we love it, and how to support your lovely pelvis and your lovely self on this journey that you are on. I'm very happy that you are here, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. Welcome back, babes, to another episode of the Pelvic Power Podcast. I was going to say the Pelvic Flower Podcast. I don't know why. I often think of the pelvic floor as a flower that is widening when I'm breathing. So I think that's where it came from. Side note, try that out if you're trying to learn how to breathe with your pelvic floor. Think of when you're inhaling, your pelvic floor is blossoming like a flower. And when you're exhaling, as the pelvic floor travels back up, the little flower is closing. Just a little side note there to help you. You can practice it today. I encourage you to do it, especially lying down, to connect with your pelvic floor breathing. If you want to learn more about your pelvic floor breathing, come join us in the Pelvic Health Yoga membership. But anyway, we're moving on. Welcome back to another episode of the Pelvic Power Podcast. I'm very happy that you are here, as always. Today, we're going to be diving into the pelvic floor, into the pelvis, into pelvic health conditions, because I tend to get a lot of questions regarding what is overactive pelvic floor dysfunction? How do I know if I have it? What are some symptoms of it? How is it connected to any other pelvic pain condition that I might have? That might be Lichen, Sclerosus, Endometriosis, cystitis. So we're going to dive in a little bit into that today. So yay, welcome. It's a very clinical episode today, I want to say, but I do want to make a little side note here as well. I am not a doctor. I'm not a pelvic floor physical therapist. I am a pelvic floor yoga teacher. I am just providing you with the information that you may need to go ahead and see a pelvic floor physical therapist that can help you. So, starting off strong here. I teach pelvic floor yoga to people that live with overactive pelvic floor dysfunction, also known as hypertonic pelvic floor dysfunction. So your pelvic floor wants to be able to contract and to relax. Contract and to relax. When your pelvic floor is overactive, it's holding on to tension, it's too tight. Tight does not mean strong. Tight is not the same thing as strong. So your pelvic floor muscles, they have a hard time relaxing. If they can't relax properly, they're not going to be able to contract properly either. You want your pelvic floor to be able to contract and to relax, to work properly, to function properly. So if you live with overactive pelvic floor dysfunction, you need to learn practices to let go of that tension. You need to learn how to make your pelvic floor move properly in order for the pelvic floor to function properly. Some things that you might experience if you live with overactive pelvic floor dysfunction may be constipation, that you need to go to the washroom a lot often. You get a sense of, oh, I have to go now. I have to go now. I really have to pee now. And you might feel like you can't empty your bladder properly. You can get pain with intercourse, pain with tampons, pain with any sort of insertion. You can get low back pain, hip pain, jaw pain. So those are just some signs or symptoms that you may have overactive pelvic floor dysfunction. But the only proper way to know if you have any sort of pelvic floor dysfunction is to go see a pelvic physio. So a pelvic floor physical therapist. They can help to diagnose you. They will do an assessment on your entire body, and they can help you understand your body a lot better. Whenever I have a student come up to me in my regular yoga classes at the gym and they say, oh, I have hip pain, or I have sacral pain, or tailbone pain, or I have pain here in the backside of my pelvis, my first question is always, have you seen a pelvic floor physical therapist? Because I am just a yoga teacher. I'm just out here. I'm a yoga teacher. That's it. Have you seen a pelvic floor physical therapist? They need to do an assessment on you individually so you know what's going on with you. And then if you have overactive pelvic floor dysfunction, this is where you come and see me, because we practice movement, breathwork, and body awareness practices to help you relax, to help you to regulate, because your nervous system is super important on this part of your journey. It's not just doing the stretches themselves, it's also about connecting the stretches to your breath. It's about helping your body, your being, realize that it's safe to let go, to feel centered, to feel more grounded, to feel that, yeah, it's safe. It's safe for me to be vulnerable, or it's safe for me to be in the state of feeling. There's so many ways to look at your pelvic pain, and it's more than just the stretches. So if you're just out there, you're just doing the stretches and you're realizing, oh, this isn't helping, maybe you need to go a little bit deeper to actually support your nervous system. So this is where I come in. But when it comes to your overactive pelvic floor dysfunction, so you can have that just in itself. So this could be because you went through trauma of some sort, that you're stressed. Oftentimes, when we're stressed, when we're feeling very upregulated in life, one of the first things in the body that stress may present itself in is your pelvic floor. Your pelvic floor, your fingers, your hands, your jaw, your shoulders. You know how they often say that, oh, are you stressed because your shoulders are really tight when you go and get a massage? Yes, it's the same thing with your pelvic floor. You can hold on to that stress in your pelvic floor. Or you might have an underlying condition such as like a sclerosis or endometriosis or interstitial cystitis, and that is also linked to your pelvic floor dysfunction. So it can be either or. You can have just pelvic floor dysfunction, which is your muscles, your nervous system, or you also have another underlying condition that can affect your pelvic floor dysfunction. So for example, you come and see me, you have overactive pelvic floor dysfunction. You only have overactive pelvic floor dysfunction. You're learning practices to support yourself in that sense. I have people that come and see me and they get what they need out of their practices to continue on by themselves. They use the practices that they learn and they continue on by themselves. They can have sex again, they can vacuum, they can go on a bike, whatever that may be. That is what they're gaining from the practices that they learn within my membership that we do together, or within the classes that we do together. But then if you have, I'm just going to take myself as an example here. If you have lichen sclerosis, which I do, that is a chronic condition. That is something that I'm going to be living with for the rest of my life. That is also going to impact my pelvic floor health. So it's an ongoing process, it's ongoing work to support myself on this journey. I can feel when my pelvic floor is tightening up, when I'm feeling that tension, when I'm getting pain. I can feel that. I know how to support that. So I'm supporting that, but I also know that I might tear tomorrow. My pelvic floor is going to react to that. It's an ongoing process. So with my students, I may have people that live with only hypertonic pelvic floor dysfunction, and they do the practices, they learn the practices, and they're on their merry way. But then I have people that live with endometriosis, and they want to continue doing the practices because they're noticing that, oh, it really helps with my pelvic floor dysfunction, but it also helps with my endometriosis. But I also know that this is a continued journey that I have to be on for a very long time, and just creating a sustainable healing practice for you and what you need, which is super important. But then you can also look at it as in, how is my overactive pelvic floor dysfunction contributing to my lichen sclerosis or my IC, for example. So when my pelvic floor muscles are very tight, I'm stressed, I'm feeling it. How might that cause my lichen sclerosis to end up in a flare? When I did one of my treatments for my lichen sclerosis, I was getting steroid injections into my lovely vulva, into my pelvic floor muscles, which was great. I would not have a tear for like 3 to 4 days after the injections. And I could feel myself constantly holding on to tension in my pelvic floor. I could feel that tension in my pelvic floor. It's kind of like I was pulling myself away from any potential tear that I might have. So it's interesting once you start to dive in to your body and what is actually happening in your body, because sometimes, especially, well, in this case, yes, we live with pelvic pain. This part of our body, our lovely pelvis, may feel like very distant from us. It may feel like it's not even a part of our body sometimes. And then once you start to dive into it, we've spoken about this before, how the pain can actually perhaps be a teacher. You start to lean more into the pain to learn more about your body, and therefore you can minimize your pain. You're also increasing body awareness through this part of your body. So instead of being scared of the pain and just starting to practice any practices that you may prefer, whether that is breath work or movement or just holding certain poses, and just starting to get to know your body, of how it works, how you can support yourself. For example, when I did my steroid injections, that was to support my lichen sclerosus, but I learned something about my pelvic floor dysfunction along the way, is that I'm constantly holding on to that tension. If I start to let go of that tension, that is going to help with my pain. I know specifically when it's my lichen pain or when it's my pelvic floor pain. And I know how to support my pelvic floor pain. I know how to minimize that specific pain. I know what I can do to help support that. And that's what we want. It's more than just like looking at it's I've said this before, but like zooming in on one condition, how can we learn about how it all is linked? And not just in the physical body, but also energetically and with your nervous system, which is so, so, so important. And this is something that I've started to dive into a lot more with myself. This morning, I woke up and I was doing somatic exercises in my bed, and I can feel the pain rising when I'm doing certain somatic exercises, but I'm trying to lean into that pain and then also, okay, what can I learn from this pain and how can I support my nervous system going through this? You are so complex. The human body is so complex. And we just have to learn different directions of, I don't want to say attacking, but supporting, clearly a word that I use in every other sentence, supporting yourself, your body, your pain on your healing journey. So, this was just a short little snippet of how you can support your pelvic floor dysfunction, how you can learn to support your pelvic floor dysfunction. Go see a pelvic floor physical therapist. Then come see me if you live with overactive pelvic floor dysfunction. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm on this planet for, to help you support yourself on your journey. If you have any questions, don't be scared. Reach out to me. Reach out to me, ask me the questions. Sometimes I bring them. They they kind of inspire me to create the podcast episodes because then I can reach more people. And then you get to learn more about what I do, how you can support yourself as well. Until next time, remember to look after your beautiful body. Remember to look after your beautiful blah, and I will see you next week. Bye.